Welcome to Bed Crime Stories Podcast. I'm your host, T, and I'm wishing you all a wonderful day. It's been a little over 3 weeks since 59-year-old Debbie Collier was discovered partially undressed, charred, and clutching a tree in a ravine. Whatever the primary cause of death turns out to be, this poor lady suffered. It's so heartbreaking. Adding to my emotional reaction to this crime is that Debbie Collier reminds me of my own mother in some ways. My mom was always put together, well-dressed, impeccably coiffed, made up, and she worked her derriere off like Debbie. My brother used to call my mother the Peacock. And like Debbie's son, Jeffrey Bearden, who appears to be a very stable, very loving son, I have a troubled sibling who caused my mom and dad a lot of grief, emotional and financial, for a very long period of time. So I can relate to what I feel I'm seeing in this family's dynamic. We now know that law enforcement is looking closely at Debbie's 36-year-old daughter, Amanda Bearden, as well as Amanda's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Andrew Geigerich. The police searched the home that Amanda resides in early on after Debbie was found. They also seized both Andrew's and Amanda's cell phones, if we are to believe Andrew, who told that to a reporter. It isn't easy to get a judge to sign for a search warrant, so the police obviously were able to put together a compelling case to justify the warrant. Law enforcement has also stated that this crime was personal and targeted. That leads me to believe it was an inside job, meaning someone closely related to Debbie Collier. But why would someone want to hurt this lady who appears, at least on paper and in photos, like a kind, stable person, a trustworthy and dependable employee, and a very supportive and loving parent? Steve Collier, too, despite being the stepfather, seems to have been helping out Amanda. Note that the house Amanda lives in is said to belong to Steve Collier. Also living in that residence from time to time is Andrew Geigerich. I'm wondering if Steve either didn't charge Amanda rent or charged her a less than normal rental fee for that house. If so, that's an awfully nice gesture for a parent and or step-parent to make. We have also now learned that the fight and commotion a neighbor heard coming from the Collier residence on the night of Friday, September 9th, was most likely between Debbie and Amanda. The New York Post reported that a neighbor heard shouting and screaming coming from the Colliers' home. The neighbor told the newspaper that the commotion involved a younger woman and somebody comes up to visit on the weekends, and in the evenings there's loud screaming and fighting. That last bit makes it sound like this was a regular occurrence on the weekends when this person came to stay. The neighbor either did not name the person or maybe asked the newspaper not to share it, or maybe didn't know exactly who that person was. We can infer that it was most likely Amanda Bearden because she herself has said that she was at her mother's home on Friday night. She said they ran errands and then they had dinner together. If what the neighbor says is true, then it's looking like something was definitely causing a rift between Amanda and Debbie on the weekend Debbie was found in the ravine. Or it could have been a rift between Amanda and both Debbie and Steve. I'm assuming that Steve Collier likely knows what the fight was about and who was involved, And I'm sure that he has shared that information with the police. I'd sure love to talk to him about that. The first place one's mind goes in situations like this, at least for me, is money. But it could also be about money and a child's turbulent relationship that a parent maybe frowns upon. Did Amanda need money? Did Andrew Geigerich need money? Was Debbie upset that Amanda continued to see Andrew when their relationship was clearly toxic and destructive, and he'd been ordered by the courts at one point to stay away from her? Did Debbie and Steve maybe tell Amanda that they were done handing over cash to her? Did Steve say, I don't want you living in my house anymore, you don't take care of it? I mean, it's all speculation. We don't know. Yesterday on Gisela K's channel, Grizzly True Crime, one of her clever followers carefully tallied up Andrew's many court fees. You see, he's had quite a few run-ins with the law. Shockingly, the fees came to exactly $2,385, the same amount as the Venmo transaction Debbie Collier made to her daughter Amanda Bearden on Saturday, September 10th at exactly 3:17 p.m. Of course, we don't know whose device was used to make that transaction, so it's unclear if Debbie Collier did that willingly. Now, either Andrew is not a very smart fellow, or he's being set up to look like the perpetrator. I'm finding this amount a little too convenient, and the skeptic in me is saying, if you're gonna take someone's life, and part of your motive is money, why not take more than just what you need to pay off your fees? I mean, taking a person's life is not an easy thing to do for most people, except maybe sociopaths and psychopaths, which, by the way, we may very well be dealing with in this case. Note that according to well-respected criminal profiler John Kelly, who has experience interviewing serial killers, which I'm going to call SKs moving forward to keep YouTube happy, the Debbie Collier case shows signs of a budding SK. Kelly stated that the brutal act shows signs of a repeat SO who may have tried to burn off DNA evidence. Kelly said this about Debbie Collier, and I quote, I think she still had life in her. If she tried to reach out and pull herself up by a branch, even if it's her last ounce of strength, end quote. Kelly also said this has all the signs of an SA attack with volcanic rage. I have to think he was trying to cover his DNA, end quote. Whoa, that makes it sound like John Kelly believes a male committed this crime, or at least that part of it. Of course, we don't have the autopsy results, so none of us web sleuths know for certain that Debbie Collier was subjected to that. But the police have said Debbie was partially nude, there was charring on her abdomen, and there were the remains of a fire at the crime scene. The authorities also found items that Debbie had purchased at the Family Dollar store at the scene of the crime, including the red tote bag and the blue tarp, which was partially burnt. I believe there may have also been paper towels strewn about, but don't quote me on that one. Kelly's remarks make me now lean toward Andrew Geigerich being involved, allegedly. I want to keep saying that because we cannot say that he or Amanda committed any crime. The police have not named any suspects or persons of interest in the case, and people are innocent until proven guilty. But in true crime, we speculate. So let me just speculate for a second. Could it be Gigerich who committed this crime? If it turns out that way, did he act alone or did he have a co-conspirator? If he acted alone, was he deliberately trying to make Amanda look like the perpetrator? Or could it be Amanda Bearden who committed the crime? And did she maybe do it solo and try to implicate Andrew as the perpetrator? Of course, if John Kelly is right, and this was some sort of SK crime, and one that included the SA of the victim as proven by some DNA in a certain location, that would point toward a male perpetrator. At least I think so, right? Is it equally possible that two people worked together? Did two individuals, both with volcanic rage and amoral personalities, conspire to hurt the one person who had the keys to helping them out financially? Did Debbie maybe tell someone that she was cutting that person off or persons off financially? What could have triggered all this rage on this particular weekend? Let me speculate some more. If Amanda is found to be responsible for this most brutal crime against her mother, could she have been killing two birds with one stone? By that I mean getting revenge against both her mother and her boyfriend. We know she likely fought with Debbie on Friday night, and we know that Amanda and Andrew both got into physical altercations with each other from their past run-ins with the law, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. Their relationship can be described as toxic, turbulent, rocky, on again, off again, destructive, and more. She, Amanda, has falsely accused him, Andrew, of a crime in the past. She told the police that Andrew broke into her house when it turned out that he was living there at the time. The police even charged her with falsely reporting a crime. So we know that Amanda has no problem lying to the authorities and making serious allegations against Andrew, trying to get him in trouble. Of course, it could also be the other way around. Maybe it's Andrew trying to set up Amanda. Amanda did sound like she was crying and distressed in the recorded phone call she made to the police when she was asking if she needed to hire a private investigator. I'm thinking that what she probably should have asked is, should she hire a defense attorney? Just kidding. If you didn't hear that recording, check out my video from yesterday. It's in there. Was the sobbing we heard genuine emotion, or is Amanda a good actress? I would think that Amanda's troubled relationship with Andrew would have upset Debbie. What mom or dad would not be distressed over their child being in a turbulent relationship like that? It turns out that Andrew Gigerich, who is a former amateur mixed martial arts fighter, allegedly threatened violence against Amanda and her entire family last year in a chilling note. The handwritten note was scrawled in a green marker, and it was included in police evidence photos that were taken following a domestic dispute between Bearden and Gigerich in May of 2021. Amanda claimed that it was Andrew who wrote the note. The note reads, and I quote, "If you and your family ever come near me again, I will hurt them. Have a nice life, you lying ass, bitch. Don't ever contact me again." End quote. According to the police documents, Bearden claimed that her boyfriend had broken into her home, as I told you earlier, screamed at her, and attacked her, leaving her with bruises on her shoulders and arms. And the police did see and photograph visible bruising to Amanda's right arm and shoulder. I'm pretty sure that a former MMA fighter can probably be quite powerful when landing blows. Gigerich allegedly wrote the note before making the threat. The police report made at the time said this: "In her living room, Bearden showed me a handwritten note left on a notebook." End quote. Amanda Bearden told the police that her boyfriend wrote it before he left. Andrew was arrested and charged with battery and some additional charges. He was also ordered to stay away from Amanda. Amanda was also arrested, as I told you, at the same time and charged with making a false police report. Now, that same police report also quoted Amanda's stepfather, Steve Collier, as saying the following: "The violence between Bearden and the boyfriend was pretty constant over the entire time they have dated, spanning a couple of years." Note that after that May 2021 incident, Andrew was banned from contacting Bearden. However, just 4 months later, he was charged with violating that order. Apparently, he went to Amanda's house and he banged on doors and windows demanding to get inside. Same month, Andrew was arrested for misdemeanor DUI, having marijuana, not wearing a seatbelt, not having required tag lights, and reckless driving. He pleaded not guilty to having the required tag lights and to the reckless driving, and the rest of the charges were dismissed. That sounds like a plea deal to me. Then, in January of 2022, Andrew Gigerich pleaded guilty to the DV counts against him, and he was sentenced to 12 months probation. Then, on August 26th of 2022, he was arrested again for violating that parole, and he was ordered to serve 6 days in jail and to show proof that he had entered a substance abuse treatment program within 20 days. It's unclear if Andrew served the jail time or entered treatment, but it appears that Bearden and Gigerich continued living in the same house, claiming they'd moved back from Maryland just 2 days before Debbie Collier disappeared. I still don't know exactly what that Maryland bit is about, but I will try to figure it out. Amanda Bearden, it turns out, also had additional run-ins with the law. She too has a string of prior arrests and a mugshot. Some involve incidents where she argued with other boyfriends. For example, in 2012, a fight she had with a boyfriend resulted in her getting arrested for battery. She later pled guilty to a lesser charge of disorderly conduct. She received 12 months probation in order to take anger management courses and to have no contact with that boyfriend. Then, in 2013, Amanda, who was 27 at the time, broke her probation after she attempted to provide a fraudulent sample to a drug testing lab. He was sentenced to 30 days in jail. So it's sounding more and more like Debbie Collier may have been dealing with a failure to launch type of daughter with a proclivity for troubled relationships with troubled boyfriends. Time will tell, at least I hope, who committed this most upsetting crime against Debbie Collier. And who knows, we could all be thrown a curveball and hear that it's someone else who is responsible. I mean, there still is that guy who is driving the truck with the paint can that fell off and hit Debbie Collier's car. I'm planning to do a video about that whole situation and how that story came to be inserted into this crime tomorrow. Stay tuned. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and leave me a comment. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories.
And that's the only reason we've had any contact, because every week she takes $500 or $600 from my check, and I just don't see how that's right. And she goes and does dope with my money. Like now I've made over $30,000-$40,000 this year, and I'm completely broke because she spends it all on drugs. And my issue, there's clothes in the house that is mine.
Could you tell me what happened when you came over here this morning?
I asked for my clothes, and she said I needed to leave. I mean, I just got here. I haven't done anything wrong. That window's been broke. Can I just leave if she's not going to give me my stuff? I really haven't. I mean,
We're just trying to figure out what's going on, because, beating on somebody's door this early, causing scene at the door. So, I understand like stuff's been stolen or whatever.
She said to not ring the doorbell for the cat, but I just knocked on the door a couple times. I haven't done anything that they're saying. I mean, they've already made false charges against me before.
So y'all were talking through the door at each other?
Trying to. But I mean, if she wants me to leave, I'll leave. I didn't know.
Alright, man.
Can I just go?
Just stand by with me so he can talk to her. What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew.
I just want to be done with her. I mean, she's been cheating on me. She's been doing drugs. I've never done any drugs in my life.
Have y'all had police involved before in y'all's business?
Yeah, and that's why I'm trying to get my money back, because we're not supposed to have contact, but she's taking $500 each check.
Why aren't y'all supposed to have contact, Andrew?
Because...
Is there like a court order?
I guess so. I don't know. I went to court a while back, but...
Did you get arrested?
I've been arrested before. The last time I got arrested was because they falsified whatever. I mean, her mom... Dude, I don't know what the issue is here. I don't know why I'm so unliked. This girl got hit by a car, and I'm taking care of her. I don't know what the problem is.
Let's get in the shade.
I would just like to... I mean, I work hard.
Where do you work at?
Williams-Sonoma.
Williams-Sonoma? Okay.
I just want to know why it's okay for her to steal $600 a week from me, and I can't do anything about it.
It's not okay. So, we're here now, so maybe we can help out.
Because last time I went to court, I mentioned that, and...
What'd they say?
I mean, well, they pushed it back till another day, so, like...
How does she have access to your money?
Well, long story short, when we were together, my phone broke. Long story short, I mean, she's manipulated me into all the... where she could have all my money, basically do whatever she wants to me, kick me out whenever she wants, basically just do whatever. And it's okay, because I'm a man. There's nothing I can do about it, like, other than just let her do it, or leave.
But how does she... I'm asking...
Well, long story short, I didn't have a phone, because my phone broke, so this is the dumbest mistake I've ever made. We linked our cards together, so she can send herself money from my card. So, I mean, the first person to touch my money is her, and it's usually $500 or $600.
Where do you work? So, how do you get paid through your job?
Well, I just recently switched it to a paper check, so she couldn't do that, and...
Okay. So you kind of took care of that problem.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still $3,000-$4,000 that...
You got to go to court for something like that. If she's not willing to give you the money back, you got to take her to court, a civil court. Because y'all live together, so it's a civil issue.
We don't live together anymore.
Y'all did, though.
Okay.
So...
I'm just trying to figure out, because I've told her, like, hey, don't take any of